This is ALW Exploration. If you haven't, as I said before, if you haven't subscribed, you must subscribe. Look at his videos. He does World War II stuff mainly, any industrial buildings which are abandoned. Basically, if you want to know about stuff from the military, ask him, because the stuff he's put on, he's done, well, as he was telling you earlier, he's done sort of bunkers and everything. So what I want to know, ALW, what makes you tick? Okay, so firstly, why did you get into this, and how long have you been actually been doing this for? Because look, obviously on your channel you've got let me think, it was 2.1k followers, subscribers. So, and it looks like you've been going about a year or so, but maybe longer. So give me a little insight, and everybody here a little insight as to how long you've been doing it and why you do it. What makes you do this?
So, okay, I've been doing, I think this channel is about a year old. Possibly not even that. It's about 10, 11 months old. And I started doing it, and it was born out of my little boy, Thomas. He was really ill when he was born. He was 10 weeks early. The wife had preeclampsia. She was really ill as well. So we decided, me and Lindsay, the wife, we decided that if Thomas lived, we wouldn't try and have another one, because I was talking to the doctor the night Thomas was born through cesarean, because he wasn't really telling me anything. They weren't telling me what was going on. I was just getting the little, oh, we'll see how it's doing in the morning sort of thing. And I was like, no, what's really going on? And I actually brought this consultant. He was called Mr. I can't remember, because it was Mr. Tyrrell. So this Mr. Tyrrell, I sort of got under his skin a bit, and I says, look, what's the ins and outs of what's going on? Well, he said, well, he sort of sighed, and he says, well, you're probably going to lose one of them, but I don't know which one, meaning Lindsay or Thomas. Oh, so I thought, right, okay. So when Thomas made it, me and Lindsay had a pact that we wouldn't have another one, even though we both actually wanted like another one. So we decided not to. Now, roll on 6 years, Thomas is 6. We're having dinner, and Thomas goes, Dad, if I don't have any Christmas presents or birthday presents, can I have a little brother or sister instead? And that upset me quite a lot, because I knew the answer was no. So I had to sort of explain it to him. And then I started drinking a lot, roll on a couple of weeks. I started drinking on a lot, and I was depressed and that, because I wanted another one, but it ain't happening. So he come to me one day, and Thomas did, and he said, your bunkers and stuff that you like, because I've always liked them, but I never filmed them or anything. He says, why don't you go with your GoPro and go film them, and I'll come with you. So my first couple of explores, Thomas actually came with me, and I had a GoPro, so I just sort of filmed them on that, and that's where it all started. So it was born out of Thomas. It was Thomas's idea, basically. So, because me and him are really close, he's like, he's a little version of me, and I'm a big version of him. So we're proper tick. We like finish each other's sentences and stuff. I mean, I've got to be a dad to him. If he's doing wrong, I have to tell him off and teach him the right way. And 24 hours, I have to do that. Most of the time, I'm just his mate. You know what I mean? So yeah, it's cool. So it was Thomas's idea, and it's out of what I just explained. That's what made me do my YouTube channel.
From your son being born, which wasn't sort of a joyous experience, which we all love to, hope to have. You sort of would I be right in saying that you sort of had a bit of a downward spiral, like a lot of us do sometimes, because of obviously the situation, and then you know, your son's actually gone, why don't you do that? So he's giving you the idea, and you sort of had that as an outlet as well then, and then carried on, and it's all sort of rocketed from there. Would I be right in saying that?
Yeah, definitely, 100%. Yeah, yeah. I mean, I was really, really down. Yeah, big time down. Yeah, like thinking crazy stuff. If you know what I'm saying. Yeah, I was really bottom of the bottom out of everything. I mean, I was in Kosovo in the late 90s, 97, 98. I was out there, and we were, you know, we were looking for Ratko Mladic and Slobodan Milosevic, and we went into a town one day. I was 18 to talk to the villagers, find out have you seen the Serbs? What hills are they in? You know, that sort of thing. There's no one there. And a couple of Tonkers had been over, Tornadoes. They were a fighter jet in the armed forces at the time, and they had a ground scanning radar, and they were really good at finding earth that had been moved about. And they found some mass graves, so we dug one up, and it was full of women. Then we found another one, dug another one, that was full of men. We thought, right, well, we found them. You know, the medics were bagging and tagging them, taking them all away. And then we was leaving, getting ready to leave, go back to base camp and that. And we got a message come through. Oh, there's another one, another set of ground we want you to look at. I was like, all right, okay. And we saw the pictures. And it was like, it's weird shape. You know, why is it? You know, because normally you dig a big rectangle and you just put everything in. You know, this one was like a weird shape, and we thought, nah, that's something else. That's like a rubber. You know, they've buried all the rubbish or something. So and dug it up, and it was full of kids. So that messed me up a lot. And yeah, I sort of think about that sometimes. You know, when I'm down and drinking a lot and that. So yeah, I was back there. I was back. You know, that was like the bottom out of it all, and he pulled me out of it, Thomas. So yeah. So yeah, that's the sort of drive, because I'm doing it for him. I'm doing it for me, but I'm doing it for him because it was his idea. So that'll always be the sort of power behind my channel, is my little boy. So yeah,
yeah.
So that's why I do YouTube.
Yeah, so you do it for yourself, obviously to help your mental, your mental state, but also for your son, which I think is really admirable as well. When just sort of, you've got so many different videos on it. I mean, you've got everything from, like you've got the ROC post you do. You've even done nuclear bunkers. What else was there? You've got railway stations. I think you've done somewhere along the line. Docks. You know, what would you say? In fact, sorry, you've even got Germany, and you do all sort of the graves, the dam busters one you've done as well, haven't you? You did the dam busters where they all flew over, and a lot of your stuff you do is also you don't just go, look, I'm here and I'll do that, but you actually give history on it as well. Now that must take quite a bit of time for you to do that. Is it just sort of you research it first before you go, or do you just sort of research it afterwards? Use your little bit of knowledge you have when you do the stuff.
I do research places before I go. Sometimes if we're on a bit of a road trip though, I'm going to places and I don't even know where we're going. So sometimes I do. I like to know what I'm going to look at. That's my ideal. Like Lord Line, I researched it. I read a couple of books and I do a bit of research before I go, so I know about when it was built, when it opened, the years of operation, what it did, and when it closed, because Lord Line is closed. That's part of the dock system. So I do research it where I can, but sometimes when when we went down to the Navy base, we went to RAF Upward on the way home, because we were driving past it, so I thought, well, we'll go to Upward before it's gone, because they're demolishing that to build houses on it. But when I went to Upward, I didn't know the history of it at all. I knew the Americans had been there. I knew it was part of USAF in Europe, but I didn't know what. But but it was becoming apparent when I was there that it was used for like medical, because a lot of the H blocks had been stripped out, and you could tell it had been like a hospital, because it had, you know, them like rubber floors they have in hospitals, and they tank them at the side so they can like wash out and clean out and stuff. I could tell that, but I didn't know what the background of it all was. So yeah, that was, I didn't do my research before that one. I had to do it afterwards. But there's a website for RAF Upward that sort of people who used to serve there and locals and that, they've all contributed to it. So it's more accurate than, say, wikis and stuff like that. I mean, Wikipedia is wonderful, but anyone can write a piece on Wikipedia and put it up there. So I do actually write stuff for Wiki. I update stuff on there and do citations and stuff. So I do like Wiki, but you can't always rely on it, because some people just, you know, put whatever they want up. The only thing you can't do with Wiki is write about yourself.
You have to get someone else to write about yourself. I suppose it's a fair cop.
Yes, yeah. Yeah, so I do my research where I can beforehand, but usually it's at the editing stage. I'll sort of factually check it as I go along and make sure it's as accurate as it can be. One mistake I did make, there's a video out there, NATO bunker, the pack in Germany, RAF Larbruck. Dave was there in the late 70s, so it's 40 years ago. Dave was in the RAF regiment and he was based at RAF Larbruck. We went to Larbruck, which is now Vitsa Airport, but a lot of the RAF stuff's still there because they just haven't bothered demolishing it. Nuclear bunkers are hard to demolish because they're like a metre thick. It's easier to just leave them and build your stuff next to it. Now, we were looking at this bunker. Dave was like, oh, this is the RAF regiment bunker from 26th Squadron RAF regiment. I'm like, okay. So I went in it and he goes, it's a lot bigger than I remember. I'm like, I couldn't base it on now because I've never been there. So, yeah, so I'll just get rid of that comment off there because it's been on for ages. I see, hello. Yeah, so the pack, yeah, it's just been on there for ages. It'll be in all the video, you know what I mean? It's like irrelevant to what we're talking about now. It's like 10 minutes ago. So we're in this bunker, we're looking around this bunker, and Dave's telling me all about it. No, in this bit, we were upstairs and stuff like this. The wrong bunker, wasn't it? So I've had this bunker we were in was called the Protected Avionics Centre, and it was for a secret weapon that the Tornadoes that I mentioned earlier, the Panavia Tornado, had a pod system on it for reconnaissance, and I think it was Sky Shadow, I think it was, for the pack. So this Protected Avionics Centre was built after Dave had even been there. I think it was 88 it was built. So we were in this bunker talking about this, that and the other. It was wrong building. The bunker he was in was like behind some trees and the other way. So I didn't get hate from it, but I had a lot of like RAF Tornado technicians saying, no, it's not. That's the pack. Your bunker's over there. So that was it. Yeah, so
in the Explorers you do, if you're not careful, somebody will go, actually, you got the wrong place. Because obviously they're
quite embarrassing. Yeah, because there's me saying, oh, this was a NATO bunker for the RAF regiment, 26th Squad, and it was operation there till then. And people were like, no, I used to work there, and it was built in 88. So what you're on about is wrong one, mate. It's that one. So it's like catching the wrong bus home and ended up at Liverpool instead of Hull. You're like, oh no. Del Boy and Rodney did it, didn't they? They followed the wrong ferry back to. They wanted to follow the ferry on to Hull and back. They ended up back in Amsterdam. Yeah. So, yeah. Nice one, Del Boy.
Yeah. Well done, Del Boy. As normal. Yeah, plonker.
Yeah. It's why they're like. Go on. Sorry, go on.
No. You carry on.
Abandoned City Camo Crew Explorers. They were combats. But yeah, I don't wear the greens like DPM greens because I end up looking like Rodney Trotter. So yeah, I don't wear one of them.
Yeah, I mean, you do all military stuff mainly, don't you? I mean, So it is different to a lot of the urban exploring. I know that obviously the other explorers do the same as you, but you have, I take, just for people who may have just joined or don't know, or just watching, obviously this video later, you go to a lot of these places like bunkers and dugouts, etc., and they're flooded or they're not. You know, there's very little space to move around. Yeah, you put special equipment on, or do you just sort of go down and hope for the best, make sure it's not too muddy?
We went in a battle headquarters from the Second World War. That was quite muddy. There was one where it was sort of waist height. It was sort of belly height, chest height to Dave. And there was all like, rotten, say like a steel drum that had fallen over onto its side and it had rotted through. If you put your foot into that, you get stuck and then, you're in bother, because that sort of waist high water is all right if you stood up, but if you fall over and you can't get back up, then you're in real bother. So,
you must take, you must have, do you have waders and everything else? Just solely because obviously, like you say, like if you go into an abandoned house or somewhere like that, you've got to be careful of your surroundings, because if you're up on the first floor or somewhere, you could easily fall through. I'd take it's going to be roughly the same as if, obviously, when you go down to these sort of bunkers, these dugouts and stuff. Although it's made mainly sort of one floor, there's still dangers there, isn't there? Or collapse or anything, I suppose.
Yeah, I mean, I've got a pulse count meter for radiation. That's important because some of these places we go to, like the video that I've got out on Tuesday, that had thermonuclear warheads at it, and we didn't know that until afterwards because it was actually a secret. The only sort of slightly admitted that they'd been there in 1963 after they'd been there for about 5 years. The only sort of talked about it after they'd gone. And we were in and amongst where they were, and they didn't protect them properly. They were just within the aluminium housing. That was it. So you had like a thermonuclear warhead deployed in the United Kingdom at surface level. They didn't bury him or anything. So yeah, I've got a pulse count meter for that.
Real chance of a bit of radiation.
Absolutely, yeah. Right. Yeah, so I've got a pulse count meter. I would like to purchase at some point a 4-gas analyzer. Paul Whitewick had one recently when he went to Sands End Tunnel, and he did right doing it because the air in there is quite bad apparently, because there's iron ore in the ground there, and iron ore oxidizes the air. It depletes the oxygen out of the air and replaces it with nasty gases that you can't breathe. So he did right taking one in there. But they're about £500, I think, so I'll have to save up to buy one. If my Patreon gets going, I'll use the money from that. But yeah, I'd like a 4-gas monitor for the future. For going in, a lot of these places are deemed sort of confined spaces, these HQ bunkers, especially when there's a level of water in them. It stops them breathing properly, so the air doesn't get changed over. Once air goes stagnant, if there's any steel in there that's rotting, that oxidizes, that deoxygenates, and you go into a place and you don't realize that the air is depleted, and well, you're dead before you know it, basically. So yeah, I need to do that. So there are special precautions to take, but I don't have all the green ticks in all the boxes yet. So there is an element of danger there.
Okay, so going back to your explores, what would you say? What should we go for first? What would you say is your how high and high again? What would you say? Sorry, folks, if you're watching this back later on my channel, this is alive as well. So there's people in the chat. So come and join us when you. If you're a Urban Explorer, at some point they go live. So if you're subscribed, you'll get a message saying they're live. Come and join the chat. All right, back to my question. What's your most, the video you most like, or the most the explore you've done and you most like out of all of them? If you've got more than one, doesn't matter. tell me that one as well.
The most surreal one I've been to is the Mona Dam in Germany. That was surreal. That was really surreal. That was like literally breathtaking to know that I was on this massive dam. You have the Mona Reservoir behind you, which is like 6 million cubic meters of water against a dam that was blown up in the Second World War, and it was rebuilt in 30 days by the Wehrmacht, and then it's been there ever since. And you just think, this has really seen some action. It's been blown up and then rebuilt, and now it's just still standing. And as an engineer, as a structural engineer, you're looking at it thinking like, wow, they've rebuilt it properly, because it hasn't moved. It literally hasn't moved a millimeter. You can look down. It's on a curve, because it curves. It's like a concave, so you're pushing against it. The water pushes against the sort of fisheye, because you get a lot of strength from that. And you look at the curvature on it. I look at like new structures, and you can see a deviation in it. You can just look along it. That is bang on. That is like millimeter perfect, and it's been repaired 80 years from being blown up by a mine. And you're like, wow, that is just amazing. So the engineering side's amazing. All the lives that were lost were obviously very sad, because it's sad that, but both sides, you know, I'm English and we were at war against the Germans, but you know, I don't want German people to die or anyone else. You know what I mean? Death itself is very sad. And the Mona Dam, a lot of people died because of the raid. But you know, if time was again and I joined the RAF, then I'd be dropping the bomb. You know what I mean? That's war. That's what you do. That's just part of the job of being in the forces. You just do what you need to. You do what you're told. So you carry out the mission. So on both sides, that was literally breathtaking to be at the scene of a massive military battle. You know, that was quite breathtaking.
So that being your most favourite one, obviously breathtaking, and yeah, I understand that a structure like that, knowing obviously the full history of it as we do, and then coming back and seeing that now, still when it was rebuilt, you know, that must be breathtaking itself. So what is your worst explore? And I don't mean like, oh, I did one and I didn't like it, you know, something which really just wasn't good for whatever reason, but what it sticks out in your mind as like it really wasn't good, although you filmed it all right, but it just wasn't good for you. You didn't like it for whatever reason.
Oh, right, okay. Went to Willington Power Station. We filmed that, the Five Sisters, and that's when my drone had an IMU fault and crashed. I was on a bit of a downer after that. You just think, oh, I've just smashed 500 quid to bits.
Yeah.
And I didn't know why at first. The drone just flew off and smashed itself to bits, and I was like, I was annoyed because I was trying to recover it, and it wouldn't recover. The Five Sisters, I smashed my drone to bits, and I didn't know why. If I'd been messing about, you know, flying it too fast or something, and I crashed, I'd be like, idiot, you know. Then I'd know, but because it just sort of, I lost connection with it, and it just said lost connection, unable to connect, and it flew off and crashed. Thank you very much. Night. Yeah, that was irritating because I didn't know why. So I was annoyed after that, and then because of that, I was sort of on edge. I'd lost my edge. You know what I mean? So from there on in, I was just a bit uneasy and a bit less happy than I usually would have been. So I didn't enjoy it there. We went to a wagon works after that, and the weather was perfect for droning. And obviously I didn't drone it because I broke it. So I didn't really enjoy it there either, because sort of 30-40% of any video, if it's good for droning, you know, if it's open, there's trees and there's like the architecture in between, if you drone it, it looks brilliant. An explorer that does it really well is Broken Window Theory. They're German airbexers. And their drone footage is they'll be in a building. Like recently, they were in a hotel up in the Alps, and they were going up and down and right. Okay, sorry, I'm gonna like blank the chat out because I'm looking at the chat. I don't know if I can. Sorry, yeah, yeah. They drone the outside of the building, and then they sort of edit back in that they're inside exploring. So you get a feel of right. That's the building they're in, and they're exploring it. So you get like a full picture. And I wanted to do that with this Wagon Works, but I couldn't because I'd bust the drone. So those sort of 2 videos that haven't come out yet, yeah, they're probably my worst explores because half of the sort of realism of the video I can't give you because I didn't have a drone with me. So yeah, that kind of spoiled it. So they're probably my least enjoyable, least preferred explores.
Okay, so and you haven't actually released them. They're just sort of sitting in your archive somewhere, saying one day they might see the light of day if I go back, or
they will see the light of day. I mean, in normal circumstances, I'd just drive back to Willington and drone it. But we can't at the minute because that's in Derbyshire and I live in Yorkshire, and you're not going to travel unless it's central and all that jazz. So I can't at the minute. So I'll probably keep knocking that down the queue until I can drone it, and then I will release it. So yeah, I will. Like Chris Thornley said in the chat there, I can go back and re-drone it. It's just at the minute I can't go back. Yeah. So yeah, I've sort of got 2 videos there that I want to release because I like cooling towers. I like natural draft cooling towers and thermal power stations. They're really interesting for me because that is literally what's keeping the lights on.
Yeah, and also, you know, obviously, like I've said already, but just to reiterate this, some of the places you do are really different. I mean, it's not like I'm not saying that if you go to abandoned houses or tunnels, they're not great, you know, because they are. But you go to obviously military stuff, and as you said, you know, the cooling towers, which are still used, but you can look at them and just have a look around. It's much different to a lot of other explorers and what you do. So you're sort of not unique, but you are in that sort of different bracket of explorer as well, I find, solely because of what you do, you know, what you actually do. Now, moving on from this, you're welcome. Moving on for this, obviously, I mentioned you being to Germany, etc. Are there any plans, sort of, what are your plans for the channel moving forward? I mean, are you looking to go abroad again once we're allowed to, as it were? Or are you sort of going to stick in the UK for a while?
Both. We've got a UK road trip planned. We've got Dave, myself and Dave, and now Paul, because Paul's joined the team. Paul's a professional photographer. That those that don't know, he's going to be in the videos coming out. He isn't in the latest one, but he was with me for the revisit for the drone footage.
For those who don't know, could you just say who Paul and after Dave are? Because I know you mentioned them a lot, and obviously Dave's in your video. If you just mention who they are so that people know, and obviously they can subscribe, etc.
Yeah, sure. So Dave and Paul are explorers that come with me. They don't have YouTube channels, but they do have Instagram accounts. Dave is Exploring Dave, and he's ex-RAF regiment. So he's, I mean, the RAF, they even call people like Dave rock apes because they are literally, you know, sort of tough little guys that go off and fire missiles at things, and they're like soldiers, but they're RAF as well. Now, that's what Dave was. He's sort of a Cold War veteran, and I used to work with him at a previous company because we're both engineers. We both left that company. We both work at different places now, but we remain friends, and that's Exploring Dave. And he's got natural field craft. Now, field craft is something that you can learn, but to sort of develop it is where you sort of live off the land. It's like the basics of the fundamentals of fieldcraft are sight, sound, smell, silhouette, movement, and shape. And if you can get those right, if you do that in the field, you will be a good soldier. If you do any one of those wrong, you will be a bad soldier. Can't speak. I need another beer. 1 minute. You'll be a bad soldier, and if you get into a contact, you will get taken out. If you start making mistakes in fieldcraft like that, they're the fundamentals. He has those bang on Explores, so he is like just bang on. If there's anybody watching us, he's already watching them before they've even seen us. So he's good eyes and ears, because when I'm exploring, I'm looking at that. I'm looking at the screen on that. I'm looking at through the viewfinder. I'm checking all the settings. I'm checking all the bits on here. I can't look around. I don't have full 360 peripheral vision. He does, and that's what he does. He's my eyes and ears, and he's getting me to the next point. So Exploring Dave is vital for the channel. A good ALW Exploring Dave. Paul is a veteran airbexer. He's a professional photographer by job. That's what he does. He's recently joined the team. He's been coming with us for 3-4 months now. I've known Paul from the start of the channel. He was a Instagrammer that contacted me and said he liked my channel, and you know, we sort of talked about places and things like that, not locations as such, but yeah, he was an influence to me. I used to be a Nikon shooter, and he is a Nikon shooter. He's like full frame Nikon, shoots in manual. He's like a proper full on photographer, whereas when I'm filming, I usually film in auto just because it's easier with a white balance and stuff like that, especially in and out of bunkers, because you'll be in a forest, which is sort of sublight, but the sun's shining through. So, and then you go in a bunker and there's like virtually no natural light. So to film in manual is really hard. So I just tend to bang it in auto. So Paul supports the channel by taking full frame bulb lens for photographs in bunkers and things like that. Bulb lens is like a long exposure on a tripod. He takes like really good photographs of places. And that's Paul. He's got an Instagram account, and he is ALW Exploring Paul. And they are the sort of core members of the team. We do have a scout. Is a lead diver with Dave. Dave's actually a scuba diver as well. He's a lead scuba diver, professional frogman. His mate Spud comes out with us sometimes because he knows the lay of the land, and he knows where a lot of bunkers are, he knows where a lot of tunnels are, and he's very dependable. You know, if you got stuck somewhere, he'd drag you out, and if he couldn't drag you out, he'd go get a tractor and pull you out with that. You know, he's a good guy to have around. So they're the members of the team.
So you got a good team with you. Obviously, yeah, everything really, isn't it? He's got a scout as well. Not many people can say, "Well, I've got a scout to get all my stuff."
Yeah.
So are you looking to anywhere that you can say that you're looking to do next, or is it going to be a secret and we'll wait?
No. There's some locations in Scotland I want to go to, and not the ones that the sort of bigger channels have been to recently. You know, the Chernobyl of Scotland and all that. I'm more into like the military stuff, the military bases and that are up there. Ex-military locations near the ports. I'm interested in visiting in the future. Scotland will be a trip on its own, because it's a 280 mile drive to get there. So that'll be a sort of week of filming just on its own in Scotland. I'll be looking at going to Norfolk and filming all in Norfolk, because there's US Air Force in Europe bases down there. There's a lot down that way. Yeah, there's a lot of US bases down there. There's some RAF bases down there.
Yeah.
So I want to film all those. There's also RAF Lakenheath. They've got the 48th Fighter Wing, which is part of the United States Air Force in Europe. They're active military base now. I want to go see that, because I often see the F-15s here because we're on part of the training package for them. They're always flying over here, always, daily. You'll see F-15s above us. So I'd like to go see the base where they come from, and just photograph that from whatever safe distance, because I don't want to disturb the US military, and I don't want to start annoying them out. So I'll just photograph from a distance. I've got a long lens, so I'll just use that.
They won't be too happy if you start getting too close. They might get a bit jittery.
No, I've got a 400mm lens, so I can be a long way away.
Oh, cool. Oh, yeah, that would be good then. Get some good pictures of that as well, couldn't you? Without having to be too close to it at all.
No. So yeah, I'd like to go see that. I'd like to meet Sam and Jess. They live over Bristol way. We've talked about that. I'd like to meet them because they were actually, before they were doing airbex and going around with the big channels, they were photographers. Like Jess used to, her personal Instagram account, she used to put like pictures of the Clifton suspension bridge up and stuff like that. I'd like to go see that and photograph that. And so I'm heavily into my engineering as well. I like my engineering and industry type explores and photograph those. And then into Wales, I'd like to do Wales, the military bases in Wales, and hopefully meet Kurt Roberts as well. I'm not big on doing collabs. I don't want to do collabs with these people. I just want to meet them and go for a cup of tea and maybe go take photographs somewhere or something like that,
He's
still there.
Have a good chat. Yeah, I'm still here. Yeah, so you just want to sort of not necessarily do a collab with them, but just meet them and have a chat and discuss like what you both do, I suppose, isn't it? Yeah,
I just want to meet sort of fellow people. You know what I mean? Yeah, I'd like to do that.
Excellent. Well, I'm gonna end this interview now. Just wrap it all up. Thank you so much for inviting me onto the channel to do this, and of course you're going to carry on. I don't know what we're going to do with the live now, but it's been great. It's been a pleasure talking to you and getting to know you a bit more, and everybody else who's in the live here as well. When you guys watch on my channel, you've had the insight of what ALW Exploration LT actually does, why he does it as well. That great insight we had at the beginning. So thank you very much again, and peace out to yourself. There we go.
Thank you. Yeah, thanks for the interview. It's been a pleasure.